if you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast, episode 10 of Horsin Around. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining us tonight as I'm joined by my good friend and co-host from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Saratoga Special, Mr. Paul Halloran, and our guest from the Magic Mike Show. We all know him, we all love him, the grand poobah of the racing dudes, Magic Colloward. Guys, how you doing tonight?
Very good.
I love the
Magic,
intro.
great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love your video package. I'm used to seeing, I'm the producer for all of our content on our YouTube channel, so I'm used to seeing the same thing a million times over. So watching yours it was refreshing. It's very nice. Also, who won that turf race? I was watching it closely and I could not tell.
I gotta be honest, I have absolutely no idea where that was or where we got it or whatever. But shout out to Kyle Roscoe, who's he's our host of Bet and Boozin' with our younger guys, our Gen Z show, which has really become popular. He's the tech expert, Magic. I'm just here along for the ride. So it's nice to have you here tonight. I know we've talked about this a lot. You've been on the show once before, actually. I've been on your show twice. Greatly appreciate it. Rising tide lifts all boats. We strongly believe, Magic and I, even though we're on competing, which is a bunch of nonsense, podcasts, we all love horse racing, and we're here to share our love with everyone. So Magic, thanks a lot. Just relax, man. No buttons to press. You can just chill and be a co-host. It's nice to sit in that chair once in a while, isn't it?
Yeah, we I did a video recording earlier today, and I was telling the guys afterwards, I was like, this is going to be great because for once, I just sit back and let the questions come to me. It's so much less pressure, as you know, on this side of things.
It sure is. Well, a few quick items. First, please make sure you follow me on X right there, at H Kravitz. Paul, we are about 25 followers short of 2,000, which is pretty cool considering a few years ago we were at a grand total of 0 when I actually just jumped on Twitter or X. I had no idea what I was doing. So please follow me and follow our show on X. Also scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you can reach me through email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Of course, below the video player on YouTube, smash that thumbs up button. That'll send the YouTube algorithm to the HHH Racing Podcast. And on the upper right-hand corner, hit that notification bell. Magic's like, I say this all the time, but now you don't say it tonight. Of course, we want everyone to follow those of you that are fans of our show. If you're not familiar with the Magic Mike Show or Racing Dudes, I'm still going to let Magic talk about and promote their content as well. They do a great job. I'm big fans, and we love everyone, of course, that's a fan of our show to follow and subscribe to the Racing Dudes. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We've got a great tip sheet below the video player in the description. Our Power Picks tip sheet is cheap as hell. It's been very profitable. It's only $4 a weekend. Check it out below the video player. We got a great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. And we are on Instagram, instagram.com/HHH Racing Podcast. All right, we got a lot of people in the live chat. Magic, I'm sure we got, look, Shoddy. Shoddy's here. He's very happy. Magic. What's up, Shoddy? How are you? Terry Frank from St. Louis is here. Michael Austin, who I know follows you guys as well on Magic. He's here. Paul Conlon from North Dakota. Smash that like button. We got Mark is here. We've got all the wonderful fans are here. So real quick, Michael, here we go. Send those questions in for Magic right away. Michael Austin, ask Magic about, wait a minute. Is this a sore spot for you, Magic?
Well, he's doing this. He's trying to provoke me because he knows I can't mute him or put him in timeout because it's not my stream. Yeah, no, it's the Racing Dudes have a Triple Crown Fantasy League where each year we 10 this year 11 teams. We each pick 5 horses in early December that we're looking for to get points on the Triple Crown Trail, so through the Belmont Stakes. And it's, you guys know, it's hard in early December to pick who you think is going to be. We picked last of 11, so I like to put that caveat out there first. But it's tough because injury season happens. It's always injury season. So Parchment Party was our first round pick. He's injured. We're going to see him maybe in the summertime. Honor Marie we picked, and he didn't like the slop, I'm hoping, is his excuse.
But he ran okay.
Yeah, other horses that just haven't shown up or we took chances on that really haven't panned out. Yeah, we're not doing too great. But the good news is you can't see it. It's hidden. I have won the league before. I have the championship belt, like a wrestling belt. So I have won it before, and I finished second twice. But this is not going to be one of those years. And Michael's bringing that up because they took Sierra Leone actually before Dornoch, a horse we're going to talk about a little later. So they're looking pretty. They're looking pretty so far. But not so much.
Yeah, well, it's a long way to go. We're going to talk about some big races coming up at Gulfstream, and I'm fully convinced, Magic, there's some horses that have not run in 2024 or have run very little that are going to be major players coming up here soon. But we'll get into that. Paul, I got to give a quick shout out to my Adelphi Racing partner friends who won with a horse called Pandagate yesterday, and the Gander got an 86 buyer was his number. And unfortunately, Paul, of course, this is one of the Adelphi horses I do not have a piece of, but I'm very excited for them. I don't want to say where they may go next. But let's just say they're seriously looking at some big open company races coming up. This is an Arrogant colt and a New York bred. Pretty cool, Paul.
Yeah, it's like having a free roll, isn't it? Those open company races, because there's plenty of New York bred races to fall back on, especially as the year goes along. So off a performance like that, I'd be looking at as open company as I could get. I would have some ideas on it too, but we'll wait for Matt Couture to
there he
announce.
is. There say hi to him. He's right there, Paul.
Listen. Tell him. Hey, he can break some news on the HHH podcast if he wants, but he doesn't want to get in trouble with Double C, Christophe Clement.
No, Christoph's done a great job, and just we're going a little bit off a tangent, but do you know who has been working with Pandagate down at Payson this winter?
I don't.
Deterministic, who
Really?
is running probably this week on Saturday in the New York race. So who he was very talented horse, if you recall, Paul, that broke his maiden in fine fashion at Saratoga, coming from way back in a pretty impressive effort. So
I believe I was talking to someone about that horse at Saratoga. It might have been an exercise rider. It was someone, but they were very high on that horse from the beginning.
Yes, and Matt Couture is the managing partner, Magic, for Adelphi Racing Club. Of course, he's they're a sponsor of our show as well. So Christoph runs the show, Paul. Deterministic is working very well. So if you like Pandagate, the form fits there. So thanks for joining the show there, Matt Couture. All right, Magic. We got a bunch of things we're going to do, guys, and Paul, of course, as well. We're on the show tonight. We're going to talk about the Rebel quickly. We're going to show the Kentucky Points leaderboard. We're going to mention Gulfstream just very quick. I'm sure, Magic, you guys are going to be covering. There's a lot to cover this week. I'm sure you're very busy like I am. Yeah, with New York, California. Gulfstream's got like 50 stakes on their card Saturday, whatever they got. We'll talk about the Saudi Cup. Of course, Paul Haller knows Junior Alvarado very well because he wrote Cody's Wish. And then we'll, of course, let you as well, Magic, talk about all the great content and things going on, racing dudes. Magic, let's talk about the first race, which is going to be the Rebels. I'm going to bring it up here on the screen. I'd love to get before we actually show the replay, I'm going to right now show the form here, and there's Timberlake winning, paid, 3-5, only paid $360. Common defense, Magic, I thought, really nice effort. He did save ground, but a great ride by Brian Hernandez. What's new? Finished second at a big price. Northern Flame third. Before we actually show the race, your quick thoughts on Timberlake first winning the Rebel, Magic.
He passed the two-turn test. He hadn't done well in his previous two-turn test, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and he was fourth, but he was a very well-beaten fourth, and I didn't think looked that comfortable that day, but he did a good job. I thought a lot of this was, Christian Torres got himself a real arm workout on Saturday between West Omaha in the Honeybee and then with Timberlake. Listen, he did what he needed to do. He showed up off the layoff. He won. I have concerns about how far he wants to go. I didn't love how the time came home for him. But that last 16th of a mile, when he stopped kind of running a little squirrely in the stretch and he just ran straight, he finished strong. And so I think this is a good race. You can expect to see him improve off of this. I'm just, again, not sure how far he wants to go. And you brought up common defense, and off the off the turn, I just had flashbacks to Mystic Dan from a few weeks ago in the Southwest, and probably the trainer Kenny McPeak did too, because that rail just opened and it was like, my gosh, he's going to fly right through with a perfect trip and get it done. Didn't get the job done. Hats off to Timberlake, but again, you see right there on the screen, the 93, 93, 93. That's good enough for this crop right now. I don't know how much room for improvement there is for this horse as they go longer, though.
Yeah, and Brad Cox Magic's not even sure how long he wants to go. And listen, he's always works like a complete animal in the morning. He's just a complete beast. But when the trainer, especially one of caliber of Brad Cox, is not sure about the 10 panels in the Derby, I have major reservations with him going forward. I'd love to actually see him in the Pat Day Mile. I'm sure he'll go to the Derby. I think he'd be really tough in the Pat Day Mile. And Paul, I think Matt Bernier, who's a good friend of the show, who's going to be on Thursday, by the way, with us, Magic. Matt Bernier, because we're going to be covering Gulfstream. I thought he had a great comp. Him and I are good friends. We texted. He feels like Timberlake is very much verifying from last year, Paul. A real nice horse, but won't get the mile and a quarter. I thought that was a really good comp. Your thoughts, Paul, and I'm going to show the backstretch into the stretch run as you talk about this race, Paul.
Yeah, I would agree with what Magic said. The horse certainly did nothing wrong. I don't think he was getting green. He kind of got whacked with the stick with the left hand. I think that's what caused him to drift a little. I agree. I think this race, you'd have to be happy with him. I would be shocked if he wins going 10 furlongs on the first Saturday in May. Not surprised, shocked.
Wow. Is there a horse in this race, Paul, do you feel could be a factor in the Derby? Is Common Defense one of those sneaky McPeak horses that could finish, in the money at like 50-1 or one of those kind of situations? Or do you think this is just a weak field overall and no one really will be a factor in the Derby?
Yeah, I think, again, it'll be proven down the line, but I think you got to go with the latter. That it was just a weak field. There he got hit with the left hand.
Didn't he, Paul?
Well, he got hit with the left hand though, and now in fairness to him, once he gets back on, he does, he does run away. The three, if the three can get a more perfect trip than that, Magic referred to the perfect trip. I don't know that you could, and he still couldn't finish the deal. So, yeah, I would not be. Now the only thing, the caveat would be. They're three. It was Timberlake's first race of the year. Obviously, they're all eligible to move forward. I get it. But, you got to use your eyes in this game. And I don't knock the horse. I just don't project him as a Derby winner.
Yeah, I will say, sorry about the technical difficulties, man. Just like I've done that before on a live show, or maybe you haven't. I don't know.
Yeah.
He did right in behind, though, Magic. I will give him credit for that. He was in between. I mean, it wasn't the most ideal trip. It just feels like he just beat a field that he was supposed to beat. I mean, I tried to beat him, in all fairness, on our Power Picks tip sheet. I had a crazy thought with Next Level, the 8 horse, the DeSormo horse, trying to get in the money, and just went with some bizarro ideas. We talked about Common Defense. It just felt like the race that you're supposed to try to beat Timberlake, but he was just too good, and you just sort of turn the page. They're looking at the Bluegrass that looks like Magic or Louisiana Derby, I believe, for Timberlake.
Yeah, this race kind of felt like, too, that based on the field, it was like everybody was scared of a Baffert horse that didn't end up showing up. Like, everyone thought Muth was going to be there. Maybe one of the two Bafferts that starts with an M was going to show up, and then none of them did, and it kind of had me thinking, like, where is, why did Cox not have, I just forgot his name, that ran Catching Freedom. Like, I thought Catching Freedom could have won that race, and I thought he would have been too hard for Timberlake to chase down. And so it's like, I thought that Cox kind of put Catching Freedom in the Risen Star, because he's like, I'm not touching a Baffert at Oaklawn. Like, that's suicidal.
Yeah, I think, Catching Freedom ran really well in the Louisiana Derby. I think Cox wanted to get him into a longer stretch. I know he won at Oaklawn, but I think that was his thought. We've got Curtis Manlow is here. Curtis said Timberlake won't hit the board in the Bluegrass. Whoa. Paul, part of the reason is because our boy's just going to discourage everyone. He blows by in the lane, right? So, I mean,
I would suspect, yeah. I mean, certainly a mile and an eighth at Keeneland is probably a better idea than a mile and 3/16 at Fairgrounds for this horse.
Yes.
So I can see. I wouldn't be surprised if they go. They got the points now. So the idea now is Brad figuring out a way to get that extra furlong and a half, and
Yeah.
Brad's as good as they come, but you got to play the hand you're dealt, and I would expect him to go to Keeneland unless he really just wants to get that distance question answered and then perhaps not move on. But you know what? If you got enough points, we all know they're running.
Oh,
Everyone gets that DFS, Derby Fever Syndrome, as I call it. They're running.
They're definitely going. Magic, let's quickly talk about this weekend just briefly, and then we're going to show the Kentucky Derby leaderboard. I don't know what you guys think. Obviously, we've all been following these Derby preps closely and everything. In my opinion, this year, the winner of the Kentucky Derby is either going to come out of the Risen Star or the races this weekend at Gulfstream. I do not think the Oaklawn, which is unusual because Oaklawn in the last several years has really been a major player in the division, as is California, but we all know the California situation right now. Unless someone pops out of there that's not a Baffert, it sure looks like to me, Magic, that it's either going to be the Risen Star race or Gulfstream, and there are some major players coming up at Gulfstream. Here's the Fountain of Youth real quick. Speakeasy, as of today, there was an article. Pletcher is not sure, Magic, if he's going to go here or that allowance spot on Friday. I'd be a little surprised if he doesn't go into the Fountain of Youth because he draws the rail, but we'll see. You got Victory Avenue, the full brother to Mage, who is coming out of the Speakeasy race. Real Macho, I don't think he should be underestimated. He's coming along as a Mucho Macho Man. There's Doronak. Merritt, by the way, is also cross-entered in that allowance race. Frankie's Empire, who upset the Swale. Locked, who was my Breeders' Cup Juvenile pick, who was a little bit disappointing, but he is working well off of that sick break that he had when he was a little bit illness. I mean, this is a loaded field, Magic. I'm not going to ask for your handicapping opinions here, but don't you think that it is very possible the Derby winner could come out of this race on Saturday?
Yeah, and I agree with what you said too. That if it's not this race, it's from what we've seen, the Risen Star. When we started hearing the early probables a couple weeks out for the Risen Star, I know a lot of us, the Racing team, you guys, people in the chat, I know we're all saying like this could be the toughest Derby prep of the entire season, and that's great to see because Fairgrounds has the longer prep races earlier in the season. So you see trainers target those spots. Like Steve Asmussen was one of the first to jump on that train and go, "Hey, this will get my horse ready for going around the quarter." If it's not out of this race, and there's really one horse in particular I'm watching for the Fountain of Youth, I think it's out of the Risen Star for the Derby winner.
Oh, Magic, a little tease there. He's not going to say who it is, but don't bet too hard, everyone, on the horse that Magic likes. And by the way, I should say we have a lot of people watching live. We really appreciate it. I'm sure we have people watching Magic with your huge throng and your huge audience that you have. If you're not familiar with the HHH Racing podcast, we'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. I really think you'll enjoy the content and the entertainment that we provide. So, yeah, please make sure you look below the video player. And we also have a merch store that we just opened, merch Magic, for the last 2 weeks, and that's below the video player as well. In fact, we'll talk after the show. I think I'm going to take care of you for something. We'll talk. But anyway,
these are nice.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of. Oh, you're looking at it now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff. So we're proud of that. And by the way, I don't know if you saw the top of the banner there, but this is not a joke, Magic. If Sierra Leone wins, everyone's first $50 is absolutely free. No joke. So we are like the Mattress Mac of horse racing.
Wow.
Horse racing podcast.
Just missing like 2 or 3 commas. Other than that, we're very similar to Magic Mac.
Exactly. No, that's a real thing, Magic. I think we have a pretty good future bet with Sierra Leone. That helps make that offer possible. But anyway, listen.
I like it.
We got a lot of exciting things going on. All right, let's go to the points leaderboard, guys, because I think this is important to mention here. And my main thought here, Magic, is as fans of Sierra Leone personally, of course, we're a little biased. It seems like to me, as of now, there are a lot of horses. I'm going to make this one step bigger. There are a lot of horses on, that have points that not only show speed but might have distance concerns, like Timberlake. I don't know how you feel about Track Phantom. I'm not sure he's a 1.25 mile horse. Fierceness is a huge question mark right now. Stronghold wants to be up close. I don't think he's, Derby winning quality, at least in my opinion. Mystic Dan like the slop, who knows? I mean, Hades is speed. I don't know how good he is. No More Time is speed. I'm not sure how good he is. Locked, etc. Just your general thoughts right now on the leaderboard as it stands, Magic.
I mean, you did a great job recapping it. There's the picture really isn't getting that much clearer. I think the Risen Star helped a bit, but even that was a sloppy track. A horse like that I love, like Honor Marie, I'm hoping catches a fast track just so we can decide whether or not this horse is improving at 3. Was it the slop he hated, or did he plateau at 2? And a horse like Mystic Dan, I want to see him on the Arkansas Derby on a fast track. And I know Oaklawn doesn't usually. It's very hit and miss for what their track conditions will be like at Oaklawn, but it feels like another one of those years where you could have a horse come out of Turfway Park, and I don't even have a horse in mind right now. We got the Battaglia this weekend, and then the Ruby in a few weeks, but this feels like one of those years where if you've got a price horse, and this is kind of the benefit, if you want to say, of Bob Baffert not being invited once again. There's a lot of price horses where you go, oh yeah, that sneaks up. Like Two Phils, that horse, you sneak right up and do a great job. So it's tough. I don't bet future wagers for a reason, and this year more than ever to me is like I have no clue right now what's going to happen.
Well, there's another horse called Conquest Warrior, who broke his maiden, really impressed. He was running in the allowance, Paul, Friday at Gulfstream. I know there's a lot of buzz, trained by Shug, I believe. Even a horse like Scatify Magic out west. I mean, I don't know if they're going to keep, I don't know if West Point's going to keep him out west, but that's a very talented speed horse that maybe could go out east to try to get into the Derby and add to the, early speed. It just feels like, Paul, that there could be a lot of early speed in this race, and there are still horses that are lower down on this leaderboard, like Dornock. Conquest Warrior has no points. Victory Avenue has no points. Speakeasy has no points. That could easily jump up this weekend, Paul, and be a factor on the Derby Trail.
Yeah, it's almost like the old days before we went to the point system, when you used to have it was based on graded stakes earnings. You'd have a ton of speed horses, and someone would have a chance to pick up the pieces. Certainly, we're rooting for as many speed horses as possible to be in the field. And I do agree with you. But remember, those horses who have enough points are going to go. It's not like, geez, I don't think my horse can get 1.25 miles. It's like it's the Kentucky Derby. Okay, we have at face value, we have a no worse than a 19-1 chance to win the thing, right? So they're going to go. And I do think if you look at that leaderboard that you had, Howard, the majority of the horses who already have enough points, and it's early, but, if you got 50 points now, you're going if you want to go. So it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the way. There aren't enough races to knock you out at 50. So, yeah, I think it's good. And I'll be honest with you, I know we're going to talk about it Thursday, but this Fountain of Youth came up much better than I thought. And I believe that if our boy is not going to win the Derby, that it's going to be because of the Fountain of Youth. And I think there's more than one horse in there that I'm concerned with right now. But, one of them will fill out the exacta in the Derby and we'll hit it and be happy.
I love it. I agree. Jim Pilars is a great viewer of ours, Magic from Buffalo. I'm Hammock Howard, not Mattress Mac. Appreciate that, Jim, for the clarification. Magic, the elephant in the room, and Paul touched on it, is what's going on out west. And the reason why I think a lot of these horses, Paul, are going to go to the Derby is if they're waiting for the Preakness, they're going to be waiting for horses like Nisos and whatnot. So it's hard for me to believe, Magic, that horses are going to skip the Derby hoping to go to the Preakness when Baffert could have an armada waiting for them to crush anyone's hopes in the Preakness.
Yeah, I don't think if Chad Brown's got a Blazing Sevens, he's going to say, we're going to wait for the No, you send Blazing Sevens to the Derby, and you pray to God that you get a good draw in there. And he's got a couple good horses that could fill out that position as like his second tier compared to Sierra Leone. But yeah, the Preakness, it's funny too, because we've talked, at least we have on our side in years past, that the Preakness really hasn't had that oomph, that pizzazz that really gets to the last year. It was only Mage that went in. And now National Treasure, the winner, we've seen what he's continued to do. But this Preakness is shaping up to really be the most meaningful one since we probably Justify's year, I would say.
Yes. It's going to be one hell of a race. And I got to ask you, for people that don't know Magic or not familiar with racing news, Magic lives out west in the LA area. Is there a horse out there right now that people think is very interesting for the Derby that is not trained by Baffert? Because there are plenty of good trainers out there. I guess I would say Scatify maybe, but I'm not sure about his distance. Is there one out there that people are interested in other than the Baffert trained horses right now?
So what Stronghold did in the Sunland Derby, I thought caught people's attention, if you want to talk about a California-based horse. And I thought it was very smart for D'Amato to send him away from the Baffert Brigade and say, if we're going to make the gate with any meaningful points, we need to go somewhere else. And he passed the test going, they did a mile on the 16th this year for the Sunland Derby. But I thought that he did what he needed to do in that race. Outside of that, though, it's a down year. Scatify, we'll see. I'm on the fence about him. I wasn't in love with him going into his last race, so I need to see one more from him to make that decision.
Do you know if he's running this weekend in California?
It's hard to say with Sadler because he also has Tapalo that he might send there. He might send Tapalo to the San Felipe, and then Scatify might go out of town. I think if Scatify is another horse that, if you're serious about him making the Derby, you kind of need to get him away from the Bafferts.
Yes, and Nisos is running, I'm assuming, this weekend. So he's just working well. He's a monster. I have no idea about the 10 furlongs, but anyway, we're not going to talk on Nisos tonight very much, but he is a really, really good horse. All right, let's talk about the Saudi Cup a little bit, guys. Paul, you know Junior Alvarado very well. He was the winner. The winning rider. He rode Senior Buscador. What an unbelievable story. I mean, we had a live show, Magic, that a lot of viewers and we had a lot of people watching. It was really fun. And Senior Buscador gave myself and two other friends of mine a nice 5 out of 6 for 10 grand in the pick 6. So we were happy with Senior Buscador winning. Although the irony is, and you can watch it later if you want, Magic, but anyone can watch it, is we were so caught up with our show, we didn't realize that we were live to that number because we weren't sure they were paying 5 to 6. Anyway, it's a funny story. But that being said, Senior Buscador, Magic, and we'll show you, as you know, the video is a little bit weird because they don't have a pan shot, blah, blah, blah. Talk about Senior Buscador, who you've seen, maybe you've seen in person. He's run in California a few times. Always an honest horse, does usually get there. What a time to get there, Magic, though, on Saturday.
Yeah, I was watching live, and we for our own channel, just recording my reaction for it, and I had missed the story that Joey Peacock, the owner and breeder, had leased a majority share in the horse for the 2 races overseas, this and Dubai World Cup. I didn't recognize it was Buscador because I didn't see his normal silks. And so At this point, I'm like, Saudi Crown's hit a wall. He can't get 9 furlongs. Ushba Tesoro's going to win this. And right at the 100 meter, I heard the announcer say Buscador, and I thought, that's Buscador? And I just stopped talking and forgot that I was live. And then as soon as he hit, I just shot back and my arms were up, and I just I got very emotional about it because the Peacock family are friends of the racing dudes. I have gone to see Buscador, but after the Breeders' Cup Classic, got to bring my son, who's almost 3 years old. He won't remember this, but I remember bringing him back and just looking at Buscador and just thinking this is such a cool, honest horse. And up to that point, I always felt like he just needs that grade 1. Just somebody give him a grade 1 win somewhere because he needs it for his resume and his legacy. And then the Pegasus, he almost wins. And then, if he hadn't had to go 18 wide in the turn, maybe he catches National Treasure. And then for him to nail it in the richest race in the world, a horse that started his career at Remington Park, has raced at Remington, has raced at Lone Star, trained at Sunland. It's New Mexico connections, the epitome of small-time connections on the biggest scale. I wasn't around for the Mind That Bird era for the Derby, but for me, it feels like the closest thing we have to that, except now it's on a global scale and for $10 million of the winner's share. It's crazy.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Mind That Bird was Tim Woolley was the trainer who personally vanned the horse himself
all the way
New Mexico
across
to upset the field. Magic, I don't care where people's money is in this race. I mean, I actually used other horses vertically, but anyway, I love seeing small town guys win this kind of race because look, as good as the Bafferts and the Chads and the Pletchers, and we have a ton of respect for them, obviously. It's just nice to see the little guy, win once in a while. And this horse was very deserving. I mean, let's face it, the pace set up for him. I talked about it on the show. I'm sure you guys previewed it. It looked like also, Paul, that the outside paths were actually very good Saturday. So there are a lot of things that worked in his favor, Paul. But look, Junior rode a great race. The timing was absolutely impeccable, and you got to give a lot of credit to the horse. We don't know what the speed figs. I'm going to guess, as a buyer, which it's going to come out eventually. I'm guessing this isn't a high 100s buyer. I mean, he ran, Paul, and Usha Patasuro is a serious animal.
Yeah, and he's run 3 times in a row. He had that Breeders' Cup Classic. He was never a factor, but made up a ton of ground in the Cigar Mile at only a mile, obviously, hence the name, and did everything but win. And National Treasure has, proven to be a tougher customer certainly than I thought, and did everything but pick up National Treasure. And the only question in a race, because of his style, and I think Magic touched on it, is he's going to have a ton of work to do, and it's a combination. He has to have the right race flow and the right ride, and I would agree. I think Junior's ride was impeccable. He did what he had to do, was get him out. We talked a lot about his ride on Cody's Wish in the Dirt Mile, when if he went out prematurely, he wouldn't have got there. He wouldn't have got National Treasure. He stayed inside, then went outside. This time he stayed inside, but he went outside earlier when he had to. I agree. I don't know the folks. Magic does, obviously, but I love the story of especially going over there and winning. And, I mean, Junior Alvarado is a very successful jockey, but, $1 million in 2 minutes, that's pretty good no matter how successful you are.
No, that's a big-time score. And Magic, shout out to Trish Smith, who is a fantastic fan of this show, just wants to congratulate both of us on our collaboration here, and talked about your reaction video. Well, I'll let you talk about that. I want you to, promote Racing Dudes here a little bit. You guys do reaction videos. I'm not going to talk about the behind the scenes magic, literally, that you guys do. But you guys put that on YouTube, and I haven't seen it yet, to be honest, but I will watch it after the show. Talk about the reaction video, what Trish was mentioning. I'll bring up her comments here again.
Yeah, thanks, Trish. YouTube.com/Racing Dudes. I do the replay reactions, and sometimes I'll have the other guys on with me. But for the big race, so like Derby prep races, Oaks prep races, then anything that's going to be big or get a lot of attention like this. And I know part of it is honestly, it's the YouTube grift. It's just trying to get the content out there to get people's attention. You guys know this as well, trying to get the international attention to come over to your channel, because a lot of the international players will also play American races. So showing them that we're interested in their side as much as we want them interested in our side helps. But I'm a very emotive person, I guess is a good way to put it, especially compared to the other guys that I work with. No shot against them. It's everybody's own personality, but I very much, when I'm excited about something, it. And so we learned very early on that other people respond to that. And part of what we do with the channel is for the live shows, and I know that from watching your live shows, it's the same way when you're covering races. It's like being at the track with your friends when you can't be at the track with your friends. That's the kind of atmosphere we all try to create. So when I'm excited about something, you're going to know it. And so when Buscador, like I talked about, the horse that I have a personal connection with, does something like that after how many times we've seen him try to get there. The Cigar Mile was a great pull from Paul, because that was another race where if you go back and watch it now in hindsight, you're like, oh, that horse was clearly the best horse. No shot to hoist the goal, but he's clearly the best one there. So yeah, you got that. You can go check that out on the YouTube channel, and it'll be a busy weekend, because we've got Gotham, Holy Bull. No, it's not. Sorry, Holy Bull. I'm already on the wrong week. Fountain of Youth, San Felipe, Battaglia, Busher, Cincinnati Trophies on Friday, Devona Dales on Saturday. It's gonna be a crazy weekend.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned the girls, because frankly the girls so far this year, Magic, have been a bunch of I'm other than you're a nice Godolphin horse, Paul, that won at Fairgrounds, we really have not seen anything special. Maybe just FYI can come back and excite all of us. Mark Bogas is here. Mark mentioned, I love when Mike and Matt should talk each other into using a horse on their pod. Hint, use that horse if you want to catch. That's right. Mark, thanks for joining the show. And Jim does bring this up. I don't know if you guys saw this. Great YouTube video. Paul, I'll let you talk real quick. Of the entire ride by Junior, and you hear plenty of Spanish after the race, and a lot of congratulations. I mean, if you're a friend of Junior, you had to be happy for him. Obviously, you want to win if you're riding, but the camaraderie on the track that we don't get to hear, Paul, unless you're trackside, which actually you are trackside a decent amount at Saratoga, especially, is pretty cool. That video was awesome, Paul.
Yeah, I just stumbled upon it today, to be honest with you, for the first time, and yeah, it's that helmet cam is a score, especially when they end up on a ride like that, and the thing that you get right out of it right away, and it kind of brought me back to the dirt mile, is the kickback. When you're that far behind, you are getting kickback right from the beginning. And of course, we have the famous photo of at the wire in the dirt mile, right? Cody's Wish is completely caked in mud, and National Treasure does not have a speck of dirt on him. So you notice that in the video with Junior is, it's not only do you have to come from last, but I mean, I don't want dirt being kicked in my face. I'm sure there's a reason why the jockeys have several pairs of goggles, right? But the horses don't. So it really is a good video. And, Junior shows what type of, he was very thankful right after the wire. And I'm sure that he probably wasn't thinking of the million right away. I mean, I would have been, but he might not have been realizing that he just deposited $1 million in his personal account. But maybe Kelly was back home in Garden City.
And Paul, breaking news. I think it's fair to say there's a decent chance, a good chance that at some point, maybe not this week, we will have Junior on the show. So
yes, we're efforting Junior. Yes, we're efforting Junior, and and we'll talk about it when we get him. But Howard, you'll appreciate this. I of course texted Kelly Dorman right after that race. The text was simply Junior, all caps, and of course his response right away was, "Yeah, we're here watching it, and we think he might have had a little help across that finish line." So
I mean,
prove that one wrong.
You talk about emotion, Magic. Anyone that watches this show knows I'm not afraid to share my emotion, good and bad, because we've been involved with the Dormans and Cody's Wish, and there have been a lot of great moments and obviously some very sad moments as well. And so, man, if you're not going to show emotion, and I agree with you, you got to be real, man. I'm not going to be here and BS people and be boring and not show my true feelings. So I applaud, tip your cap, Matt. You just keep saying who you are, man. Don't take any crap from your, the other people on the show that you show too much emotion. It's all good as far as I'm concerned. Sylvain at the bottom of the screen, the two best podcasts. Wow. Dudes in HHH. Thanks a lot, Sylvain. We really appreciate that. Let's very quickly just talk about one or two other horses that came out of the Saudi Cup, Magic, and then I'll let you promote Racing Dudes, and we'll wrap it up. Saudi Crown is not going to the Dubai World Cup, if you guys heard. He's going to go to the Godolphin Mile. Woe's me. It's like a $2 million mile race. Probably a good decision there, Magic. I want you to touch on Saudi Crown, who ran huge. And also, White Barrio not even going to Dubai. Is this the beginning of the end of a great run with Dutro and White Barrio? Can you touch on those two horses and anyone else you want to mention coming out of that race, Magic?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's the right move with Saudi Crown. I had distance concerns, going to the Breeders' Cup Classic. I was like, this is not a 1.25 mile horse. And I thought, kind of like Dutro's idea with White Barrio is like the perfect setup for him to go longer than a mile and win is one turn. And he ran well, but he got run down by better horses. And Godolphin Mile, that's a good spot. Aim for the dirt mile if you're thinking Breeders' Cup. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Cody's Wish showed it 2 years in a row. There's nothing wrong with doing that. The Pegasus World Cup winner every other year comes out of the dirt mile, it seems like. So you've got plenty of options, and it's still a world championship race. As far as White Barrio, a horse that I've loved since he was a 2-year-old, really, back with Safi at Gulfstream Park, I really don't know what happened with him. He just didn't show up. And so, I like that they're not going to push him to go to Dubai out of that race to say something didn't go right. Maybe it was the travel. Maybe it was the track, whatever, something wasn't to his liking. Let's hit pause on him, bring him back, and then, go back and target the Whitney. If he's still healthy, bring him back, target the Whitney, and then you've got the Breeders' Cup Classic's going to be in Del Mar for the next 2 years. So yeah, I know he was in the race for a little bit there, but
Rodney thinks
I'll tell you this.
Sorry, Rodney Evans thinks we're highly wrong if we think White Barrio is done. The only reason I mention it, and I don't want to get into the Dutro thing, but with older horses, guys, you both know this. They get really good quickly. They also can go wrong quickly. I don't wish bad things, but they've had such a good run with him. I won't say out of nowhere, but I mean, he really increases buyers, guys. I got a sneaky suspicion that he'll run again, but I'm not sure he's ever going to be the same as he was, I guess is my point.
Oh, just three things on him. One, he was one of the most overbet horses of all time last Saturday. Okay, period. Two, there was an interview with Dutro, and you mentioned the travel, and he talked. The interview was a few days before the race. They asked how the horse shipped. He said, well, he didn't really eat that well the first few days he was here. That is a huge red flag. And I know it's flying halfway around the world. And I know I feel like crap when I fly, and I've never flown that far. I feel like crap when I fly to the West Coast. But you know what? I'm not trying to outrun some star athletes. You know, he said, well, today was the best he's looked. Well, that was like 2 days, 2 days before the race. And three, not that you can't win off that kind of layoff, but the combination of that and the travel is no bueno, to quote you, Howard. So, I'm going to tell you what, this is not after the fact, because I played a 5-horse trifecta box and he was not in it. So this is not like me red lighting them, whatever you want to call it, after the fact. And honestly, that was just because of the price. I mean, look at the horse. We saw it at Santa Anita. The horse was spectacular that day. But 6-5 off the layoff and the travel, and didn't eat the first few days over there. Not for me. But I would not say he's done whatsoever, because I think Dutro is very good. And to Magic's point, if I were them, I'd be thinking just go backward from the Breeders' Cup Classic. And the first step back is the Whitney. And now you figure out what you do between now and the Whitney. 1 start, 2 starts, whatever. But, I don't think he's done it all. But I think he was a terrible bet. Was he 6-5, whatever it was? In that field, from the rail, Saudi Crown's going to be on the line. I thought Saudi Crown, who I bet, I thought he ran very well. Magic, I agree with you in the distance. I was just hoping the one turn, though, would be just enough. And it almost –
It almost was, yeah.
Before we came on, Howard, it was a good result, because I did hit the try. But if you added the win bet and the exacta with Saudi Crown, it would have been very good. But, yeah, a dirt mile, 1 or 2 turns, I don't think it matters, because he ran well at Parks at 2 turns. A mile, that horse will be very difficult at a mile.
Yeah, I think there was a little IRAD money too. I know there was unbelievable jockeys left and right on Saturday, but still, there was a little bit of IRAD money there as well. Last horse we'll talk about Magic, and then we'll talk about the Racing Dudes a little bit, podcast, and we'll wrap it up. Jim Pilar's wants about Forever Young, winning over Bookham Dano. Did Bookham Dano get tired, or did Forever Young run him down, or some combination of both? Your thoughts on the Saudi Derby from Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Bookham Dano I had concerns about him going very long. I thought a mile was his absolute limit, and this is a horse you target the Pat Day Mile, you target the Woody Stevens with him. I think those are races that are very winnable for him. And then go to Saratoga, and go for the Vanderbilt. There's a lot of Grade 1 races that he can, and good sprints that he can go out and win. He's very talented. I felt bad for the connections, because again, small time connections with Derek Rian. I don't know if you saw the camera on him at the wire. They were like, "Yo!" Their faces just fell on that one.
That was tough.
Forever Young, he got a time form of 105. When I equate to Beyer, translate from time form to Beyer, I usually do about 14, subtract 14 from the time form. So he got a 91 Beyer out of this. Timberlake got a 93, so it's there. My concern with him, and what I would love to see from his trainer, who I don't admittedly know much about other than he's respected in Japan, He did not change his leads once at all in that entire stretch. And so he managed to run down a really good sprinter on the lead and catch him at the wire without changing his leads. Breeding says he should be able to go longer. Dubai World Cup will be interesting. If he can change his leads, I think this horse is a legitimate threat in the Kentucky Derby. If he does not change his leads, I do not consider him a threat whatsoever, because he's going to be running against American speed all over the place in that race, going a mile and a quarter, and not changing your leads, meaning he doesn't change into that next gear. He's going to run out of gas.
Yeah, he definitely wants to go longer. They also didn't like the kickback. That is no bueno, Paul, for the Derby. You better be able to accept some kickback, unless you want to be on the front going, 22 and 4 and 45 and change, or 46 and 2 in the Derby. So I will admit, and I don't know if I've actually mentioned this on air yet, so I got a little breaking news for everyone. I don't know if I've said this. I have two backup. Sorry, Paul. I had to back up a little bit, Sierra. I've got two small. Sorry, listen. That's okay. I'll accept it. Magic, I
you're
told
number
you,
one.
You keep
Howard,
it
you're
real on
number
the show,
one.
Magic. I have two small future derbies, guys, bets to back up Sierra, but not nearly alive to what I am to Sierra. And they are Forever Young and Deterministic. If either one of those wins, I win like 1,000, which I'm not poo-pooing $1,000, but I'm not playing any other futures. I thought they were interesting. Magic, I think Forever Young will be much better going longer, but he does have to improve for sure. Magic, look, we're coming up in about 50 minutes. I've already gone a little longer than I was hoping, but we're having so much fun. Really appreciate you coming on. I'm a fan of yours and the podcast. I know we've talked and how important it is to do these cross collaborations. So not every podcast, unfortunately, on YouTube does that. We both think that's a bunch of crap. That we want to make sure that we push this game to younger viewers, middle-aged viewers, older viewers, men, women, the whole thing. Take a minute or two to talk about the Racing Dudes. Maybe talk about for a second how it started. I know we could talk for an hour, but how it started and what you got going on right now.
Yeah, so the company, the original dudes are Aaron and Jared. They're both based in Missouri. They started the website over 10 years ago by going to Oaklawn Park. They fell in love with going to Oaklawn, and then Aaron started doing tip sheets for Oaklawn, and that kind of took off. And so now, 10 plus years later, we sell picks for every race, every track, every day across the country, which I've had to fill in for Aaron from time to time when he's on vacation. That is not a fun job. That you've really got to love handicapping and letting your eyes bleed a little bit to do that. But he does a fantastic job. We also have free win picks over there for every race, every track. So for people who are newer or kind of want to, they don't want to spend the money on a tip sheet, totally understand. We got win picks over there, so you can check out who we like as well. But since COVID, we've really tried foraying into the video aspect as well. So we have the Magic Mike Show and Blinkers Off, which is the flagship podcast that Aaron and Jared started, which well before podcasts were a thing. I think 8 years ago is when they started that. Nobody knew what a podcast was. I always thought it was something you had to have an iPod for to get to it. That's how old it was. So, but yeah, Blinkers Off, they're over 600 episodes, 700 episodes, something like that. We're over 500. So lots of handicapping, lots of fun. Try to keep things loose and entertaining, while also, of course, giving out handicapping picks. And then previews on the website. We also do some non-preview videos that we like. It's coming out tomorrow is Tuesday. We have another horse racing trivia Tuesday, which Howard, we're gonna have you back on again soon for that. But it's about every Kentucky Derby prep race leading up to it, so that'll be out. But we also have Senior Buscador video, because like I said, we have loved this horse since he was a 2-year-old at Remington, and Aaron did a video just explaining why we love the horse and how cool it is that he's gotten this far. So if you're not sick of all of the love and gushing over Senior Buscador, check us out tomorrow. They'll be live tomorrow on the YouTube channel as well.
That's awesome. And for people that are new to our show and watching mainly because Magic is here, of course, welcome. We have 3 live shows a week. We're on 8 p.m. Eastern, Mondays, Wednesdays, our Benton and Boozin show with our 20-something guys, Magic, who are up-and-comers and really good handicappers and great guys. They always cover a sequence. And then our flagship show, which we now call Picks and Ponies, on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then once in a while, we do live shows. We do tape shows as well. We're not going to try to keep up with you guys. You guys put out a ridiculous amount of content. Some people have full-time jobs out here, Magic, like Paul and I. And anyway, but I'm just kidding. But really appreciate
this isn't your full-time job like me. You don't get to do this for get paid.
No,
somehow?
I don't get paid. We don't get paid enough here. We don't take in the big bucks like you guys do. We're just happy to grab some pennies once in a while from our tip sheet and other places. But no, we love doing. I got to show one more comment because someone commented in the chat. I don't know if you saw this, and I know this woman is not telling the truth. Miranda, first time listener, Miranda, I know who you are. Just getting into horse racing. Magic, who do you think will win the Derby? Someone on Twitter said, quote, Cox has the juice, unquote. Not sure what that means. What's up, Dr. Miranda? Thanks for joining the show. I'm assuming that's who it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's Dr. Miranda, who you can also find doing weekly videos on our channel as well. So, yeah, we try to be more than just actual dudes. We have a couple dudettes as well. She's one, Shotty, who's in the chat as well. She's on there as well. So we're trying to branch out.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's important to listen. We've had a lot of female guests and female listeners on, and people all across the board. I mean, why anyone would want to push anyone away from horse racing to me is absolutely crazy. So, Magic, appreciate it. Any final thoughts on this weekend? Anything else coming up on your show? Anything personally you want to tout, and then we'll wrap it up.
Kentucky Oaks pick is intricate. That's my Kentucky Oaks pick. You talked about the girls briefly. That's my pick because the winners have all been kind of meh other than Tarifa. So yeah, there's that one. Thank you guys for having me on. If you are watching this because I directed you here, please subscribe to them. I'll echo what Howard said. These guys do a great job. There's diversity within their shows as well. So join them. And because they're live 8 Eastern on Thursdays, it doesn't interfere with the other live shows that we have over. We have 3 live shows on Thursdays, but they all happen earlier than that. So come here after all of those shows, and you'll get even more information. I met Howard through, you were at the NHC, right? No, not NHC, Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge is when I met you in person. So if you like tournament betting, if you're watching this show because I'm on here and you know Mike Stomach is a big tournament player, Howard's just as successful. So make sure you tune in for all that information, all the great stuff here. And again, thank you for having me on. It was wonderful, and especially being on with the Mr. Paul Halloran. I'm very excited to have been on a show with you.
Thanks, Match, for the kind words. Paul, final thoughts.
No, I would agree with all of the above. It's the more the merrier. There's plenty of content out there, but I do humbly think some of us put a little more into it than others, present company included, Magic. And I think that's a great idea for people who, after they watch your 19 shows on Thursday, they can come to get a coffee, not a decaf, and come to us for number 20.
Or they can just watch replays too. That'll be
that
just fine. So yeah, absolutely.
That's what Fridays are for.
Magic. Speaking of contests, Paul of course won the Grade 1 Gamble last year, and him and I are going to be out at the NHC in a few weeks, so competing out there. So
good luck, guys.
Got a lot of thanks. I got a lot. I'm assuming Samich will be out there, although I'm not sure, but he'll be out there.
He basically lives in Vegas now. Yeah, you'll see him.
Okay, well we'll see him out there. Listen, for my good friend Paul Halloran and Magic from the Magic Mike show from the Racing Dudes. This has been your host, Howard Kravitz. Episode 10 of Horsin Around. Crush your bets this weekend at many various tracks, and we'll see you later on this week. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.